Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. Today, it is once again Final Fantasy Fourever, the After Years. We've finished Final Fantasy IV, the After Years, and we're going to talk about it for our ranking of fantasies, which means today we get to rank this game in our ranking of fantasies. Joining me, as always, to discuss all things Final Fantasy, Chris ZombiePie Redacted. How you doing, ZP?
I'm glad to be here as the only person on this podcast right now that was not a fucking coward and finished their goddamn plate. I'm glad to be the king of the kingdom, the Lord Baron of these lands, and they can kneel before me, for I am just that great and that just I value you, my dear listeners. My dear listeners, I did this for you. I did this for you, and I'm here to enrich you with my knowledge, not this knowledge of these peons who didn't even bother to finish this game.
I played it for at least 40 hours.
No. Did you finish the game?
Watched the ending of the game.
Did you finish the game?
I was finished with the game.
Did you finish the game?
The other voice you're going to hear talking about all things Final Fantasy, one Jeff Rude. How you doing, Jeff?
Hi, I'm taking some bold steps into becoming more Canadian recently. I've finished a Margaret Atwood novel, and I have seen basically all of Heated Rivalry now.
Wow.
Is Heated Rivalries? No, Heated Rivalries isn't the gay show that my sister keeps trying to get me to watch.
Oh, it is. It's the hockey show.
It is gay? Is it gay?
Oh, it's yeah. Yes. Yes, it is.
So that's the reason why my Fujoshi sister wants me to watch this show?
That's probably the reason. I will say it's actually pretty sweet. I think
But it's gay.
It can be both. It can be both.
Yes, and. All right, before we discuss Final Fantasy IV, the After Years, our normal plugs first, before ZP afflicts us with food crimes, which I assume will happen. We didn't discuss whether this would happen, but I just assume it at this point. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show. deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com is the email address. deeplistens.libsyn.com, that's where we have our comment sections. You can get in touch with the show there. You can also go to deeplistenspodcast.bluesky.social. That is our social media account. And you can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. At the $1 tier, you get access to our Discord, and you can talk to the hosts of this show and other shows and other members of the community. At the $3 tier, you get access to the OG Soncast, our anime podcast that Chris is on. Chris, what are you watching right now?
Why, we are going to force Pete to engage in a show that talks a lot about his favorite thing, capitalism. Why, that's right. We're going to be watching Spice and Wolf, where a man kind of needs to figure out how to sell his apples for a profit while a oftentimes partially clad wolf girl is right next to him, telling him how to correctly and efficiently engage in mercantilism.
Excellent. And then our call to action we've been doing for the last few months. If you would like to donate to help folks out in Minnesota, it's still not great over there. You can do so by donating to the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota, ilcm.org/donate. Any donation that you have, if you show us a receipt of your donation, we will read a comment or answer a question, whatever you have for us. We're just trying to steer funds to places that need it. So please do so if you can. It'd be very cool of you. All right. Now is the time I've designated for ZP to derail this show with food. Is that happening?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So there's been a discussion on the site that, let's just say, has struck a chord on the food channel, and I've decided to not join, but also join. A one Zeto has posted images of potato chips. One is labeled as Taco Mexicano, and the other Picana Brasileira. I don't know how to speak Brazilian. Anyways, so I decided to buy some potato chips. Now, I love me a potato chip. My favorite potato chips, lime and vinegar, or salt and vinegar as well as lime. I like my chips salty, and I kind of like them with a twang. Anyways, I bought chips that are not that. These are from the Kettle Brand Company, which is the very Kettle Brand chips, not your Lay's. I bought the Foo vegan people artisanal brand organic, and it even says right here made with avocado oil. So I need to make sure that I have to be careful after I eat these. I probably got to like express my Second Amendment rights so I don't turn into a Gavin Newsom. God damn it! It's avocado oil. Anyways, so the Kettle brand has spicy kimchi is one of these. And then the other one, because I just have no idea what this is supposed to be, it says special sauce.
Huh. This
That's
is the
it.
same chip, or these are two different chips?
Two different chips. I bought two complete different bags.
Okay. So
I don't know what
sauce
special sauce
and kimchi.
and spicy kimchi. Okay. Okay. Open up spicy kimchi. Oh! Okay, yeah, that's pungent. Now, I don't know if this is gonna fly, but they kind of look like the same color as barbecue chips. Which I know that barbecue apparently is one of those divisive flavors for potato chips, but I think that they're very good. I think that barbecue chips are one of my favorite chips. Anyways, they have the pungency of the kimchi, which is that very pickly, pungent gochujang or whatever sauce that they use to make kimchi spicy. It's here. I guess I got to put it in my mouth.
Yeah, you probably do.
That is how you
That's how you taste.
take things in. Most people. There's other ways.
So while ZP's eating this, Jeff, I recently had some Hot Ones branded Lay's. No, not Lay's. Pringles potato chips. They were good.
I'm glad to hear that.
They were well made. They were flavorful. They were not merely hot.
What?
But what is it, ZP? How is this?
Let's try this again.
You're trying it again? Why? What is happening? Is it confusing, befuddling your taste buds?
I'm getting a little bit of that smoky flavor. I'm getting a smokiness, definitely.
For kimchi?
But yeah, a little bit of a smokiness thing. They look like those barbecue chips. I'm getting a little bit of a kick, but it just feels like generic, almost
Barbecue?
like hot sauce barbecue.
Is it
flavor.
not? It's not tangy?
There's a little bit of a tang, but only at initial blush.
That's odd. I feel like tang is really
They smell like kimchi, but they don't taste like it.
that's the dominant.
It's really weird. Okay.
When I think kimchi, that's the dominant flavor I think of. Is tang. So what is that, like a 2.5, 3?
Yeah, let's
Not
go
bad.
with it. They're not bad. They taste fine. It's just they don't taste like kimchi. So I guess I'll give it for just like failing to deliver on what the promise was. I'll give that a 2.5. All right. So I guess I'm still super confused as to what special sauce is. So I guess we'll read a little bit about the label here. It says it's a unique blend of ingredients and spices that create a flavor that's hard to describe and impossible to resist. Guaranteed fresh and delicious through the best if used by date. Ah, shit. I've been holding on to these for a while. June of this year. Okay.
Okay.
I had a chip experience recently.
Yes.
Yeah, June of this year.
There's a brand up here called Covered
Potatoes,
Bridge.
avocado oil, sugar, salt, cream, non-fat milk, mustard flour, tomato powder, honey, spices, whey, lactic acid, onion powder, citric acid, yeast extract, natural flavors including smoke flavor. That's probably liquid heat. Vinegar and garlic powder. I'm gonna open this, and Jeff, you can tell your story.
uh,
Me
covered
about the
bridge
bridge.
potato chips.
Come
Uh,
potato chips.
they had a variety that was it was called East Coast
Doesn't
Lifestyle
smell like anything.
Backyard Barbecue Chips. These were purportedly barbecue chips. I opened this bag and put one of the chips in my mouth, like you do, and hand on God, um, it was like a cocktail sauce flavored potato chips.
Huh.
It was like
Like what you would dip a shrimp in?
yeah, there and then like sure enough, yeah, it's basically like a tomato horseradish product that was on these chips. And
These look like ranch chips. Ah, fuck. Did they just like palette swap their pre-existing flavors? Okay, fine. All right, continue your story. I'm gonna put this shit in my mouth and eat.
it was good and it made me want to experiment more with horseradish, which is an ingredient I already like. Yep. So we should just talk over that noise.
Yeah, we should.
he's making.
Yeah.
Just distract from the horror.
Yeah, I don't
What's
think
your
I would
favorite use
want.
of horseradish?
Oh man, favorite use of good use of horseradish. I guess we don't count the horseradish type that's in
Meat.
wasabi, right?
Yeah, we can have the horseradish extended universe.
I like wasabi.
Wasabi's a delicious thing.
That's my favorite use
Huh.
of horseradish. I think. Otherwise, I mean, there are some steak sauces that have horseradish in it that are pretty good.
Indeed.
ZP, how does this taste? How does this chip taste?
These are sweet.
Sweet as in good or sweet as in sweet?
It's like what if barbecue chips had more onion powder on them?
Okay. I'm listening to that.
And it was like it still had the sweetness of barbecue chips.
Nice. So these are more. The secret sauce is probably like a 3.5.
I'm gonna
Even
give
higher.
it a 3. I'm still
Okay.
confused as to why we need to call it secret sauce. I mean, I got a lot of secret sauce, but the government doesn't let me sell it.
Great point. All right, let's discuss Final Fantasy IV: The After Years. When last we talked about it, we talked about Ceodore's Tale, which was the very first episode, and a bunch of the mechanics. We've now played all of it. Should we pick up at which tale? Which tale do you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I think that's a good placement. Is right there between Final Fantasy X2 and Final Fantasy 13. So that was an episode, and we'll see you guys. I think the next game we'll talk about will be another Final Fantasy game. That's peace. Fuck, dude.
I don't
So,
remember where we left off.
Okay, so here's
I don't
my
remember
funny
where we
joke.
left off.
My
We left
funny
off
joke
off.
is I rolled credits on this game, which is telling the truth, and that's also just a byproduct of how this was sold on the Wii, because I played through everything. The first like portion of this that was sold was like which was up to like Kane noticing the moons were weird, basically. Then credits roll, and it's like, okay, that's it, you're done. And then everything else was like a la carte content, basically. I then went through 3 of the like 45 of those miserable fucking things, and then did not play the last, apparently most substantial and least good one. So yeah, touching different parts of the elephant, right?
Okay.
ZP,
I'm
you
looking
got
at
all
the
the way to the
notes.
end of this thing.
Yeah, I went to the. I'm actually pulling up our notes from last time. So our previous podcast, we discussed, at least Gino and I, Ceodore's Tale and then Rydia's Tale. I believe that after Ceodore's Tale, Gino, correct me if I'm wrong, our game then opens up to a series of
Options.
selectable tales,
Yes,
which was
yes.
Rydia, Yang, Palom, Edge, Porum, Edward, Kane.
I could do every one of those but Kane.
You couldn't do Kane. I had Kane as
Kane
an
I had to
available thing.
unlock. I had to do all
So
the other ones and then Kane.
After you finished Ceodore's Tale, was there an option, Jeff, to pick your next story, or was it still linearly structured as if it was the mobile edition?
It was a pick your own story. Keeping in mind that, again, had I not quote unquote purchased all of these additional stories there would have been like a blank menu entry where they ought to have existed, which seems
Okay.
like just
So one
weird.
quick thing that I apparently found out reading other people, like I sometimes consulted a guide, especially because these dungeons, while linear for the most part, they have some trickery in them that's fucked up, and I hate it. Apparently, a common problem is people would fuck themselves over by you know, overriding their saves by putting a save over a starred episode, which the star icon means that you finished that chapter.
Yeah.
If you do that and you reach one of the chapters that requires you to like borrow information or save data from a previous episode, you can just fuck yourself.
Yeah,
Like
the
that
Wii
character
version
is
will
going to start at level
absolutely
1.
yeah, my version would absolutely have let me done that, and I kind of anticipated it, so I, like, did, like, a what would you call, kind of a rolling save thing, um, but yeah, I was like, "Wait, aren't they supposed to, like, crosstalk somehow?" So, yeah,
So
fun.
that's a weird thing that they don't just save the data. Now, admittedly, the way that this works mechanically is that when you want to merge 2 episodes and eventually when you get to the Lunarian tale, where actually, no, the Crystal's tale, where you have to bring the whole party back together and then pick from them. Though, a quick little addendum on that, that was not an option in all versions of this game. Um, you 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 have to pick your stars and put them in to where the episodes are supposed to be, and that's how the game keeps the data as to what was the last level, what sorts of items do you have to merge them all together into a single inventory thing. I don't know, maybe the game could have just had
Linear.
the data, just had the data and not have me worry about it, or just, like, set all the characters, like, level 50 and just call it a day. I don't fucking know, man. I didn't actually give a shit that they had, like, an endless treasure trove of doodads and gizmos and shit. Now, I did go to the length of beating the challenge dungeons, which then leads me to a question for both of you.
Uh-huh.
Does your version of the game have challenge dungeons?
Not that I could tell.
So, where there's a naming way in a like, basically, you can load up a starred episode, and then you can talk to a naming way in a random location, and they unlock challenge dungeon.
I did not see any.
Yeah.
That's interesting because, like, I'm pretty sure that they were in the mobile release of the game, but largely because, 1, if you do wanna carry over your save data, if if you bring low level characters, like, you're just borked. You're gonna have to engage in a level of grinding on that crystal episode on the moon way more than, you probably want to, and then on top of that, the enemies on the moon will just waste characters to the point to where it's just not fun. Also, for how this was sold on mobile, those challenge dungeons were basically there to, there was a month-long gap between these episodes, so, yeah, we're gonna put in some arbitrary hard bullshit to
Keep
keep
you
you
playing.
occupied while
Yeah.
you wait for the next episode. Um, they're not fun. Some of them are way more useful than others. Some of them don't even have bosses. Edwards has maybe the most bizarre and weird format of all of them, in that you go into this tower and you're timed. There are actually a couple of these where the challenge dungeons are timed, but for his case, you have to explore a labyrinthine dungeon, and all of the gold that you get is just for that dungeon that you then cash by opening chests at the end of the
What?
dungeon. Your cash just disappears that you get in this dungeon. So
Huh.
What a
you're
weird
exploring
design.
this dungeon to complete quests within a finite amount of time, and then using the cash at the final screen on that dungeon to buy things that you can then carry over into your save. It's a weird thing, but all of this is to say that I went the extra step of actually doing all of the challenge dungeons, and I don't.
Don't bother.
No, no. I mean, it's cool that you get to see some of these encounters that um definitely factor into the later portion of the game, but yeah, some of these dungeons just straight up don't have bosses. I think Porum's Tale has it to where you're just in a field, and then you talk to random NPCs, and each of them has a different mission. Sometimes the person will be like, "Please give me a mega elixir, and I might give you some treasure." And it's like, "Fuck off." And it's like, "Well, I'm not going to give you anything." And that's just it for that NPC that you could talk to.
Mm. And this is what you're so proud that you did that we didn't do, huh?
No, it's not just that. It's I also did the moon and the crystals, and I saw that final boss, and I beat their ass.
Yeah, so this game, like we said, you're picking all of these different stories, and ostensibly those stories are supposed to be standalone because you could have bought them or not. And eventually they all come together to tell one story, right? And there are definitely moments in each of these stories where you see a character from another story kind of cross into your story briefly,
Yep.
usually very briefly.
Very.
But the stories that they tell are so nothing and barely exist, and they are so padded out by combat that it's hard. Like, most of these stories have like maybe 4 or 5 cutscenes in them, where plot happens, and even that, like Rydia's tale, we went over last time. She starts in the Summon Land. She then goes down into the like, she goes to meet the king of the dwarves. She gets the princess of the dwarves as a partner, and then to go to the surface. That's basically all that happens. Yang's tale, you find out he's got a daughter, but she's a daughter, so he doesn't want to train her in kung fu, in monkdom, and then, when you know it, she proves herself to him, and then he decides to train her after they go to a meteor site. But in many of these stories, you might have 1 or 2 new named characters who join your party, and then for some of these stories, they round out your party with no name characters. Like, Yang has 3 monks that can join him: Monk A, Monk B, Monk C, because they just need you to have party members so that the game is functional.
Now, Gino, yes, I agree that they round out the parties with party members. 2 things. You're saying something where the finger on the monkey paw is going to crawl up, because when they do fill up those slots, let's say Edge's Tale with a bunch of named characters that then persist beyond that episode, uh, fuck me. And then also the alternative, Gino, is you have to play something like Edward's Tale, where you have like 2 or 1 characters for the entire chapter, or even like Palom's Tale, where it's just you and Lenora sucks ass. And it's terrible.
It's all terrible in different ways. I'm just saying it's perplexing. Like, they make so many different bad choices, you know?
Take a shot at gin.
Like, sometimes they give you a full party of named characters, like everyone's favorite ninja Izayoi, who's in your party.
The big booby one, right?
Yeah, she's the lady ninja.
Okay.
And
Clearly likes Edge, but
Echo.
whatever, they don't even do anything.
Yeah, of course they don't, because Edge is maybe into Rydia. Again, this game really doesn't. It's not explicit
So
about
a couple
any of
of
the
things.
relationships. But I just want to clarify, like, they make some choices to maybe give you a party that's capable of fighting, and then because each of these sections is self-contained, each chapter, you feel like, what's the point of leveling these characters up? As soon as I go to another chapter of this game, all my money will be wiped out, all of my items will be wiped out. Why would I care what level they were at? So you kind of just speed through these sections as fast as you can, but they pad out these sections with dungeons and then backtracks through dungeons. So even though there's not much content that matters in any of these chapters, the chapters are all 2 to 4 hours long, of nothing, of just like padding.
So I'm glad you asked, or I'm glad you said this. This is why of all the episodes, the 2 that I think actually stick out as like at least interesting narratively, Yang's Tale, because it has 2 locations that didn't exist in Final Fantasy IV. Okay, I know that seems like a low bar, but we will talk about why it's a high bar. And then Edge's Tale, because at least all of the characters, even though they suck ass, are like actual characters with arcs. rather than be faceless mooks. Did you notice? I don't know how this is. Some of the art is weird depending on which version of the game you play.
Of
I
some?
don't. It's all different. I don't know if you have seen the character portraits for the complete edition for the PSP version, but they're weird. The white mage is from the back, from their back, so you see the back of their head rather than their front. And then
Mhm.
Porum's character portrait just makes it look like she's perpetually pissed off, like just
Yep.
angry. Anyways, so Yang's Tail's fine. Edge's Tail is okay. I would have liked Kane's Tail until basically the plot twist is that they're just going to recycle Cecil's whole character arc onto Kane and then hope that you don't notice,
Sure do. Yeah.
He's
which I thought was the funniest shit ever,
Yeah.
but we'll get there when we get there.
Yep.
Incidentally, that's part of the base game for the Wii version. So like
Yeah.
So like that
And,
came so I wound up playing through that and
and
seeing that
spoilers,
silly thing.
it kind of wasn't fun to play, but you know what? At least that Lunarian Tale has Golbez and Fusoya as like full-on characters, and they have a unique perspective. And plus, it's the most fan servicey thing they could have done, but it's fan service that makes sense. It's like, yeah, now you get to play as Golbez. Why not?
Yeah, so like Yang's Tale is just him learning to respect his daughter. Palom's Tale is Palom being insufferable and maybe getting a love
Holy
interest in
shit.
Leonora.
Oh my god. So Lenora clearly likes him, and then the
Yeah.
plot twist is that she's a forgotten childhood friend of his, but Palom is such a colossal piece of shit to her to the point to where it's like this relationship doesn't work because
Yeah.
you have not earned it. You are an absolute dickhead. And then plus, I don't like you.
Yeah. Spending any time with Palom sucks because he sucks. Edge's story, you have to go through each of his little ninjas are each spying on other towns
They were like
and
there in
kingdoms.
the wings for all the other stories, or several of them.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they are like just off frame from all of the other stories. And so you get to see the other stories just kind of play out in front of you slightly and then play through combat sections with one of these ninjas, which is awful.
Which, yeah, like every single time that this game forces you to just be one character sucks because it still plays out with the normal ATB.
Mhm.
To the game's defense, at the very least, it seems like it's informing its enemy encounters to not be impossible with those one characters. Interesting thing, I forget what his name was, but the one who is on the meteor, I don't know if this applies to all versions of this game, but for my version, if you answered the dialogue prompt when he notices that the mysterious girl is myrtleizing those monks, you can have him intervene and he just dies and he is
Huh.
dead for the rest of the game.
Huh.
I didn't do that, so I don't.
Okay. But yeah, anyways, you can choose to have him intervene, which I guess results in like one of these things that I thought was like endlessly frustrating. So we have this mysterious girl who is clearly from Interlude, Jeff, the clone of Rydia, which
Yes.
the game
Nod.
later explores later. But so this mysterious girl keeps popping up, and she just basically is like at a completely different power level of characters, our classic characters and our new characters. If you're pitted up against her until much later in the game, she basically murders you. Every single boss encounter with her is a forced loss battle, which there's like 4 times in which you fight against her and you're best off just like wailing away and just twiddling your thumbs until it's a game over and she drops some sort of Bahamut spell and she one-shots you. Every single time you talk to her, her dialogue is basically the same. She thinks that you guys are an inferior race, that she doesn't have time for you. And you would think that, okay, that's how it starts off. She's clearly an alien. This is some sort of like Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy VII thing where she's like trying to do the requests of some sort of ulterior power. But she just keeps repeating the same thing over and over again about how everybody's like beneath her. She's not every battle that we have against her, Gino, correct me if I'm wrong, just repeats the same refrain over and over again.
It does. It's a very one-note character.
Yeah.
Every time you encounter her, you know she's going to get her way because they make very clear that she's stronger than everyone else. And so you just have to deal with. There's not tension, right? There's not
No.
tension about whether
No.
anyone's going to
No,
be able
no,
to
no,
beat her. And you also know, depending on how you play these stories, you know she got her way for some of them, right? Like some of these stories take place
Yeah.
after others. And so there's just no tension there either because you know she already wins.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Palom's Tale, Porum's Tale, there's some flashbacky sections. And you just know where these characters are going to end up. So what if you play like Rydia's Tale, you see Rydia before Rydia's Tale starts. So you know that things are going to be okay. When they're like, oh man, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this thing. You know it's okay because you've played a section of the game where everyone's still there and alive and fine. And they use this almost Rashomon style story where you're jumping between perspectives.
It's a very generous description, but go
It's
on.
the most generous description I'm going to give of this game.
I mean, it's what they're clearly pulling inspiration from,
100%.
but poorly.
Yeah.
It's bad. That's the thing, is like it is to this game's detriment that it is using all these different perspectives. It largely, either you tell a story that's so small as to be inconsequential, or you're telling stories that have any of the like tension of what's going to happen in these outcomes just completely ripped away because of how you had to structure these chapters so that they could be played in any order. Like Edge's Tale, he jumps off of the Tower of Babel and then just lands on a ship below. And I think in one of the other chapters, you just see him land on the ship. So if you play Edge's Tale after, you know that he's fine. Right?
There's also that moment where Porum's talking with the village elder, and there's just a random frog that pops up, and it turns out that was Palom. Oh,
No, that was
the ninja kid.
Suki Noah. Yeah, the wind ninja kid.
I'm surprised to hear you, Gino, because I remember you complaining about it on Discord, rightfully so. I'm surprised that you're bringing up the fact that the game repeats its refrains narratively with its characters, when I think that the bigger problem is that like 60 to 70% of the dungeons in this game repeat across episodes. How many goddamn times do we go into that fucking waterfall dungeon?
5. So, like, the same waterfall dungeon, and it repeats the same enemies, it repeats the same boss battles, the treasure chest locations are the same, different items in the chests depending on which character you're playing, because it's going to have stuff that's relevant to you.
You have to walk back! And you have to walk out of it when you reach the bottom part.
Yeah, so, like, Edward's Tale alone, you go through the waterfall dungeon three times.
That is...
Just with Edward.
Yeah,
so
to be honest, Edward's the one that I was like, I'm done playing.
Edward's Tale will, again, I think that there are some fun moments with like Porum and Palom, other than the fact that Palom's a dickhead. Edward's Tale is maybe the worst episode by far.
Yeah, because you're playing as a bard
So you're playing as a bard, and then his companion is
Harley.
Harley, who is a librarian character, or what's the class where they use books rather than
academic or something?
Scholar. So she's a scholar. So you have two support classes together, and they only briefly have people supporting them, like soldiers, for like a
three
very
random mooks, 3 random soldier mooks who have no abilities.
And I remember the part when Harley goes down with like malaria. I know that
it's the desert fever.
Yeah.
Which is a repeat of something that we have already seen from Final Fantasy IV. Like, I remember when it was a repeat of what we had to deal with in Fantasy IV, which there's going to be more examples of the game just carbon copying something from Final Fantasy IV into this game. And I remember saying to myself, there's absolutely no way that this game is going to make me complete a dungeon with just Edward.
Joke's on you, moron.
And then the joke's on me, because it has you complete 3 fucking dungeons with Edward. You go through the cave, actually 4. You go through the cave, then you go through the Antlion's Den, then you walk out of the Antlion's Den, and you go through the cave again. So you have to, the waterway. You have to go through like 4 dungeons with Edward by yourself.
Yeah, so the waterfall cave, in case you've forgotten, there's actually 2 caves back to back, basically. So it's
like 6 dungeons.
Yeah, basically, because you have to walk out manually. of each of these dungeons. Yeah, so basically it's
And
6
then
dungeons with just
structurally,
Edward.
that's a problem because when you do decide if you want to have Harley be a part of your party, she is the lowest level character across all characters because you barely play her. You barely play her as her, and she has no levels, no character upgrade.
Yeah, and she just doesn't
Yeah.
like they don't spend the time to introduce the new characters to you in a way that you would actually appreciate, right? Like if
Yeah.
Harley had a skill that was useful for regular battles and they had prompted you to use it or taught you how to use any of it, it'd be one thing. But the battles you have to fight in these chapters are all incredibly basic, except maybe one boss per chapter, maybe. Some of them not. Some of them don't even have that.
Yeah, I mean, she has that weird piercing sight ability, which gives an enemy a new weakness and then casts dispels on them, which
Yeah, but
seems interesting on paper. But on top of that, it doesn't work on bosses. Why would you limit these abilities to where they barely ever work on bosses?
I
And
mean,
then she has Guild Toss, where it's fucking the same Guild Toss ability that you've seen countless times prior.
my
The
problem
thing
is
that
that
really
they.
kills me. No, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go
I
ahead,
mean,
Jeff.
like, the broad stroke, like, I kind of see, and then I looked up like how this arc kind of ends, and like it bummed me out even more because like I kind of see what they're trying to do, which is get Edward to like sort of move through
on.
grief and like get to the next like step in his life, and like this is going to be with
Fall in love with the
Harley,
new
kind
girl.
of. Yeah, but like it's hard to really give a shit when again you're like solo trudging through the water dungeon basically for like the third time, and the person that you're meant to be like drawn towards, like there you could draw some sort of really shitty comparison between this and like Cyan's arc in Final Fantasy VI, which makes this look even worse. But like you can see what they were trying to do, and it's about as close as I came to like wanting to like this at any point. Because most of the time I was just like actively being like, "Ugh, this fucking thing," but I was like, here there could have been something, but she's just kind of a nothing character, and
She's
they
a sexy
bury it under so
librarian,
much fluff.
ultimately. Yeah, she's a sexy librarian lady, ultimately, is what she is. And that
Yeah,
ends up being her defining character arc.
something for
Um,
everyone, but like,
But which is why I think that there's actually like I kind of as bog standard as it was, this is why I kind of thought that Yang's Tale was one of the better ones because it has an arc. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And it
yeah,
concludes,
Sick.
and those characters have a logical progression to them. And then you actually see these two where he's like mentoring and being like more of a sensei figure to Ursula. It's like, okay, fine, you delivered on that. It's about as basic as a plot arc as you could. Like, man doesn't want daughter to pick up in his footsteps because he's worried. And I think that there is some humanization of what it means to be a parent in this game. Whereas, like, I think they were trying to do that with Ceodore. Whereas, like,
yeah.
his father is like trying to push him into following his footsteps and is maybe not doing it the best way that he could possibly do that by just having him join the Red Wings or fucking I forget what
Yeah, the
that
Red
word
Wings.
was. The Red Wings, and so it's like, yeah, you learn like I did. It's like, buddy, don't you remember how when you joined the Red Wings, like you ended up like committing multiple acts of genocide and like it was not a positive experience? What if
No, but
your
he
son
controls the
just
Red
wanted
Wings now.
what
So
if
it'll be
what if
good.
your son was just an artist is more like what I'm saying. Like, why does he need to be a soldier? Like, anyways, but so Yang's Tale works for me in the fact that one, that chapter has two unique locations, the meteor impact site and the tropical island. Now, the tropical island ends up being a super fucking annoying level because it's a labyrinth that then repeats and loops around. But at least it's new
Yeah.
and it has a logical plot arc.
Yeah, that's the thing is like many of these sections are repeated. The game does not give you a reason to try out the new character's abilities because you barely have them in your party, and the new abilities don't seem to do very much. That's actually needed for getting through the combat.
And again, Monkey Paw, because I'm remembering when we have Palom, you get Lenora, and Lenora's with you like from beginning to end, and she sucks.
I mean, she's got white magic and black magic, but she's bad at
And
both
she's
of it.
terrible at both. and she doesn't have this chapter isn't going to allow her to get to a point where she like gets better by either. She's okay at white magic eventually, but she's still terrible at black magic. And so because this episode is withholding her full progression as a character, both mechanically and narratively, until a later episode, she's just stuck in this purgatory where she sucks.
Yeah.
And the plot arc there is that she likes him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the thing is, like, you're going through these chapters and the character development is barely there for most of these. There's all that we're saying story-wise, like, that's what you get. Like, there's not that many cutscenes. There's not much exposition. Most of this game is just going through the same recycled dungeons with recycled enemies, with recycled items, with recycled abilities. Like, that is most of this game. And it sucks. Like, Kane's Tale, it's a recycle of Cecil's story.
Well, I mean, we were talking about that with Jeff.
Oh.
So it was one thing when we started out in the Mound of Ordeals, but the minute that I realized that he would have to fight a mirror version of himself, and he was going to actually transform the same fucking way that Cecil does, Jeff, that was fucking funny as shit. It's like bringing the Emperor back in Star Wars.
Well, it's just like this, it got me really thinking, because this is one that I wound up, I got through this and then like the Edward one, and it's like, okay, and Rydia's, for what it's worth, like, why did this have to exist? Like at all? like clearly there's some love, like, because okay, so this was like farmed out anyway, right? So this is not, they did not get the original production group behind Final Fantasy IV back together to like tell
No.
a news
I looked
story.
this up. It has one of the people who was behind Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it had one person, but like the
One
rest,
person.
it's not like they got the whole all-star cast back or something.
I mean, Sakaguchi still hadn't buried the hatchet by this point.
Yeah, like it. So I mean, like that's like a weird jumping off point right there, right? Like it's like, okay, like this is a valuable IP. We need to keep this in like floating around in people's mind. Like why this and why this fucking story? Like I keep on comparing this to Mortal Kombat 10 in my head, in the sense that it's like what we need to do is introduce like this next generation, and I can kind of understand there's like a sort of lineal interest in like telling stories and like it's a very human desire to sort of pass things on to children, like normal shit, right? Like kind of understandable. To go through all the length it took to produce this thing, to not really do much with that theme except to be like, yep, they passed on, the caretaking of this world to the next generation of their kids. It's like, okay, I could have gone on to Archive of Our Own and written that fan fiction in about half an hour, where Cecil and Rosa had a child and he struggled to be a knight, and then like I may have come up with a more interesting primary antagonist than they came up with in this thing. Like just what an ill, and so yeah, the arc of Kane is just like warmed over stuff from 20 years ago is kind of a, I don't know
Offensive.
what else I would have expected, I guess, for the like arc of how relatively disappointing the rest of this was. But like, fuck, man, like that's what you got. This is what you got. This is, they felt so good about that part of the story, they included it with the like base package of this thing. So like this was in my mind, or their mind, their like thing they needed to lead with, and it's just sucks.
Yeah, and so you get all of these tales that are warmed over. Palom still wants to be a sage. Porum is maternal because she's a woman. Yang is doing monk things, and now he's got a daughter. Edward is still grieving the stuff that happened in the last game.
I'll say this to diverge ever so slightly from Jeff. I kind of liked Edge's tale because, okay, so hear me out, Jeff. Okay. I know that this was one of your least favorite chapters because all of those little ninja kids were like dweebs and they sucked to play as.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's super funny that they're all weebs, and it's just a bunch of like even the old guy is a weeb, and they all I don't know if you saw what their band is when you band them all together, but they
No.
do a Super Sentai pose and then summon a phoenix. Like they're Super Sentai characters.
Yeah.
And I thought that that part of their character arc where they're all just a bunch of nerds and then plus Edge is constantly being yelled at to be an actual king because he's an actual king, I thought was great because it leads to this idea that this isn't actually a kingdom of ninjas. He's just a nerd. And he just is convinced that he can be a ninja. And he's convinced all of these other people that we're the we're the kingdom of ninjas. And so him being a nerd and it just surrounded by nerds that think he's the most biggest badass character ever, I thought was funny as shit.
It is funny. It's not a good playing experience.
No, it's like I said on our Discord, like the problem with their chapter is that when you have all of your character slots filled, no one can get a proper number of levels because the experience point division that works in Final Fantasy just screws you over to where no one can get a level to save their fucking life.
Yeah. Yeah, so this game, how does it end, ZP? Like we go through all these chapters.
So no, I feel like we do need to talk about the Lunarian Tale because this
please
is
do.
the one chapter that feels like could only exist in the after years. So when you boot up the Lunarian Tale, which only happens after you've completed Kang, Edward's, Porum, Edge's, and Palom's, and Yang's, and Rydia's Tale, it just starts out quiet. Golbez wakes up from his little cryostasis chamber and I was like, man, something shook me up and now I'm being woken up. And then you're walking through what's the part where it's like you're on the moon but not the moon?
It's the lunar.
Is it the lunar subterranea where it's
Lunar
like the crystalline
subterranean, yeah.
staircase sequences? Is that
Yes.
the lunar subterranea?
Yep.
Okay. All right. But you're walking through the lunar subterranea and you're Golbez, and when you first wake up, it's like no music, completely mute, and there's no random encounters. And you're just going through the lunar subterranea, and then you find an impact crater. And then you're Golbez, and Fusoya joins up with you. Clearly, this is after his redemption arc. Golbez definitely doesn't look like the way that he looked when we last saw him, because he's rejected the armor that he wore when he was a big bad evil dude. And you go to the impact crater and you have to fight once again the mysterious girl, who's still introduced to you as a mysterious girl. And you actually can beat her because Fusoya and Golbez are presented as being at this level above all of your previous characters. And they kind of are. Golbez has all of the kind of like boss abilities and can even do flare without dying, unlike Tulla. And they play as they did before, but they're a bit more. They're a bit stronger. And it's kind of like you're curb stomping pretty much everything because you're Golbez, you're Fusoya, you should.
Yeah. These like demigod like figures basically in the original game.
The only problem is that when you run out of MP, which does happen quite a bit, because the way that Golbez works in this game is that he actually, upon level up, he doesn't gain any new abilities and he doesn't gain HP until you reach a certain level cap with him. That's not to say that he's not valuable, but he doesn't get better stats with his HP. I think he does get better MP as he progresses, but he's kind of like static, the same way that Fusoya was in Final Fantasy IV. And the same thing applies to Fusoya. And they're progressing through this moon, and we're seeing these characters that were, well, Fusoya you did have as a temporary character, but we see these characters kind of like interact with each other, and they are different from when we last saw them. They're not repeating any plot threads because they weren't playable. In the case of Golbez, they weren't a playable character in the first place.
Yeah.
So things feel unique enough. The problem is, and this was a point that we brought up with Final Fantasy IV, correct me if I'm wrong, Gino, the moon kind of sucks.
It does. It's too long.
Like, the moon always was the worst part of Final Fantasy IV. It's cool that you go there,
Yeah.
but I've never been a fan of the moon. especially like not knowing where all of the entrances and exits lead to. I realized that the
Navigating
solution
it
was
is
to get
notably crummier than the rest of the spaces you are made to navigate.
yeah, but you have to find this crater. You have to find the face of Mars, which is a callback to Final Fantasy IV, and now it leads to a dungeon or a cavernous sequence. And you go through all the previous moon sequences, including the Lair of the Father, which was not how the original game translated the name of that location, but that's
Mhm.
a different issue entirely. And, you know, we fight. Like, the big buildup is like 3 battles against the mysterious girl. One of which, for whatever reason, like they kill the mysterious girl like twice and then they fight her again, and this time she doesn't go down for the count. And so Fusoya has to teleport Golbez away. Whoop-de-freaking-do. I do like the sequence where like the crystals start becoming corrupted. I thought that was kind of cool, but
Mhm.
It looked
it's
cool.
it's kind of one note in that you have these characters that don't really progress and they just drop like Firaga on everything in Myrtle. I don't know, Jeff. How did you feel about the Lunarian tale? At the
It
very
becomes a
least,
little like Deus Ex Machina.
yeah, at the very least,
ish.
it's a tale that doesn't recycle anything other than the environment.
Yeah, laudable that they penciled out something like is there a better game here that is more or less exclusively focused on like Golbez and this content? Like,
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, if you excised most of this content, it would be a better game. Like, if
Yeah.
all you did was cut through many of the dungeon reruns and a lot of the combat, if this game was 20 hours instead of 70, I think it could have been a thing that was
and to go
enjoyable.
back to your point, Jeff, at least Golbez has a unique perspective we haven't seen before because we didn't
Yeah.
play as him, right? Like, I think that's your point, right, Jeff? Is
Yeah. There's
you
something on offer,
do
and
kind
it's
of
not
want to
just
learn.
yeah.
The Lunarians are kind of still in hibernation. Why? This is something worth exploring. But to only get to like the point that I've been thinking about stewing in my head is, do you actually want to know the answer? Not really. So it kind of reminds me in a weird way of Chrono Cross.
Mhm.
Is like finding out what happened to What's Her Bucket after, the,
After
that
Chrono
epoch
Trigger.
exploded.
What happened to Shala? No one
Yeah.
What
cares.
happened to Shala? It's like you've decided you wanted to answer. What happens to the Lunarians after Final Fantasy IV? Do I actually want to learn what happens? No, not at all. But
Considering
okay,
how
it's
like
a
broad,
question
I
you want
mean,
answered.
yeah, they're not particularly relevant to the plot insofar as it's a space wizard who is on the moon named Fusoya. Like, it's like, okay, there's some people who came from space. Okay, cool. Like, I don't like people that sees on that small of a detail. I guess, like, I don't know. God bless, but yeah, I was satisfied. I was not left watching the Final Fantasy IV credits being like, um, I wonder if there could potentially be a second moon that is piloted basically by God. Like,
Yeah, you weren't thinking that? You weren't like,
yeah,
what if
at
there
no
was a
point.
second moon?
Yeah,
But yeah, like the fact that the plot, when you boil it down, is hey, remember in the first game when a bad guy came from the moon and there was a god on the moon and you had to go stop him? What if what if the moon came back and yet somehow Palpatine returned and the moon comes back and then do you remember how in the first game Baron, like the king of Baron, was possessed by the devil and was accosting the entire world? What if Cecil is now the king of Baron and he gets possessed and
So
does
I
the
guess
same thing?
Jeff or Gino, I guess that's why I find so much of this story offensive because these characters act surprised when that happens.
Mhm.
When you should know.
It's
Like,
the plot of the
seriously.
last game.
yeah, you were
You
there.
shouldn't act surprised. Like this happened before. maybe there's a force beyond your comprehension that's able to do this, that maybe you didn't defeat the first time.
Remember when you went to the moon? Seems like you might need to do that again. And I mean, the only character who seems like they've learned a damn thing from the first game is Edward, who, when he encounters Cecil, who's clearly not Cecil, he plants a whisper weed in Cecil's throne room so he can listen to Cecil. And when Cecil gives him a gift in a small box, he's like, "Oh, this is that bomb in a box that Cecil and Kane used to blow up Mist.
Classic.
I know that this is a war crime in a box, so I'm just not going to open this box." He's the only one who seems to realize that this is all just the same game repackaged and sold to you in bite-sized pieces.
Which, like, you know, hey, he's the keeper of songs and lore, so I guess that makes a certain amount of sense. He does pull off there's a Chekhov's Carnelian signet moment in the plot of this game too, where that the bomb does go off. But in a better context, because it's a used to foil an evil plan. So that's nice, right? It's like a callback, like a clever subversion, like poetry.
It
Rhyming.
rhymes. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. This game really... And then the final chapter, like, you get to pick which characters you take into the moon to deal with the bad guy who turns out to be God.
Hopefully you're in the mood for some grinding, because you're probably not the proper level to deal with any of the shit you're about to deal with in the moon. Real quick quibble, I don't know. Apparently this doesn't apply to Gino's version of the game. When you open up the menu on your version of the game, Jeff, does it show which moon phase you're on?
Yes.
Fucking why doesn't it show it on my version?
Yeah,
Because
which, to be clear, was the
moon
last most complete version.
The moon phase is one of the most annoying features in this game, because
And it's one of the only new features in this game.
yeah. Well, no, the band system is actually new, even though
I said
it's
one of,
technically Purim and Palom's mechanic, but not shitty. You're on the moon, and yet there's moon phases. So, like, weird, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson moment there. It's like, why are there moon phases on the moon? You're on the moon. But some bosses are immediately harder if you're on the wrong moon phase. And then one moon phase, I think it's the waning moon, will just spawn dragons that can one-shot you if you're not careful. That fucking sucks. I hate it. And so you end up usually spending a bunch of tenths to phase into the moon, and hopefully you can get to the boss before the phase switches to a different one. But anyways, it's in this late game phase when actually the band system is the most broken part of this game, because you end up spending a paltry amount of MP to basically just do these like almost meteor or flare level spells or moves with two characters. The downside is that you're putting two characters in your party on stasis until they can pop their band. On the flip side, some of these bands are just busted.
Yeah, and
it's
just they're just super attacks. Like, that's all it is. You know?
Yeah, they're the limit break system, but more mechanically tied to the ATP system.
Like, all I'm getting at is it's less interesting than like Chrono Trigger team up attacks, right? Like, those team up attacks are more varied in what they do than this game, which was developed a decade or two after Chrono Trigger.
So before you gave up, what was your final party?
I gave up on the Lunarian Tale.
Oh.
I didn't even boot this fucking part of the game, my friend.
So I'm literally the only person who got through the Crystal chapter?
Yeah.
Or played the Crystal chapter?
I watched the Crystal chapter.
You fucking cowards. Anyways,
I played for like 40 hours. This game is so long.
And I want to point out that this chapter is about 20 to 30 hours alone.
What a joke, man.
Um,
and it's mostly combat, right? Like it's mostly combat.
It's
Not
mostly
even that
combat,
part.
though.
It's
When you get to certain save spots to rest, it does trigger cutscenes where characters are talking to each other. It's like Kane apparently has a good relationship with Ceodore. Lenora is confronted by Luca if she truly does like um
Oh,
Palom? Palom? Because Luca starts off with a crush on Palom. And she's like, I don't want any conflict. Do you like him? If you like him and you say yes, I'll drop this shit entirely. It's like, okay, I do like him. It's like, okay, we can still be friends. Um, yeah, it's
multiple
just like,
characters having a crush on the most unlikable character in this game is hilarious.
wish fulfillment.
but
Yeah.
anyways, it's a slog because
'Cause
it's around this point when the enemy encounters basically have hard counters to if you use the wrong ability. So the secret to the crystal chapter is just set your characters to auto and have them physically attack. That's
Mhm.
it, really.
That's
Pop
what
a
I
heal
do.
spell. Pop a
I-
heal spell when you need it.
And in my version of the game, it auto saves before every battle, so if you die, it doesn't even matter.
Ha!
So that's pretty great. I just
Yeah.
So
I just ran forward with Edward, and if he lost in a battle from auto battling at full combat speed, who cares? It's actually way faster and more economical for me to continue doing the auto battle nonsense than actually paying attention to the fights in this game.
I guess the one interesting thing that happens other than the actual conclusion to this is what it ends up doing with Golbez when you're trying to fight the Black Knight. Um, so Cecil is brain fucked. He's like in a comatose state to the point to where he can't even use his paladin abilities. Now, dear listener, you might be wondering, so did they fix the part where like Cecil being a paladin kind of sucks and like all of his white magic spells are just terrible and don't scale well? No. The answer is no. He still only taps out at like Kiraga and Esena, which is why Ceodore is like actually a genuinely helpful character to have in your parties because he does the white mage stuff a lot better, even though he doesn't hit as hard. But anyway, there comes this point where you have to fight this Black Knight, and the interesting thing is that Golbez can die. Like Golbez can die if you bring in the party. So there's three possible solutions or outcomes to that battle. The first of which is that if you don't have Golbez and Cecil, you just get wiped because the Black Knight does darkness and it just clears your party. If you only bring Cecil and Golbez, Golbez sacrifices himself to protect his brother, and Golbez is permanently dead, which is a real bummer because Golbez is a powerful character and you want him to be in your party. If you bring Rosa, Cecil, Kane, and Golbez, with the fifth character being completely irrelevant, you can then prevent Golbez from dying. And that sounds cool on paper. The game does not communicate any of this information. This will happen. Like, at all. Like, at all.
Not
And then
surprised at that, but
some
okay.
of the stuff that you can do with Rydia is, hey, make sure that you have Rydia in that fifth slot because there's going to be multiple opportunities for you to get summons, and if she's not in your party, like Asura just dies. Like the whole sequence where you're picking up Asura and Leviathan and Asura die, and when you fight the mysterious girl, if Rydia doesn't have Asura and Leviathan, then Bahamut dies as well, which is a real bummer because these are classic summons, summons that we've even seen before that mean something to us, right? So
And
the game's doing stuff to have some permanency to where you're thinking like your choices matter. And that's, I guess, interesting. And then I also did the extra bosses. What ask me anything. Gino,
does it
Jeff, ask me
matter if
anything.
the summons die? Like, yeah, you can't
Kinda.
summon them, but
I mean, Rydia is an incredibly powerful character. I put the limit ring on to where if I used Bahamut, then it would just break the damage cap at 9999.
and also like, so if you just take Golbez and not Cecil, there's no threat
You
of him
still
dying,
die.
right?
You still die. You need Cecil and Golbez at the minimum to move past that battle.
Like, you actually need them,
Mhm.
or
Yeah. You need them. You need to have Golbez and Cecil as a minimum to progress from that battle. Otherwise, your party gets wiped.
because they're that strong?
No, it's a gear check. You need to have them. Period.
Okay.
He does darkness, and if you don't have both of those characters, the cutscene doesn't trigger. You just get an instant game over. Yeah, cool, right?
Okay, so let's rank this thing.
Wait, no, like I want to
Oh,
talk
I mean-
about the final boss.
Oh
I
yeah,
want to talk about
God.
the ending. with
Let's
this,
talk about
like-
God.
Well,
Sorry.
like, so to be clear, that you wind up cascading through this enormous dungeon. There is the space in here to fight. Good lord, like
Do you want them?
every
Because I haven't
major
written them down.
boss, but from Final
Yeah, that's the
Fantasies
other
1
thing.
through 6.
You're literally just fighting every single boss from Final Fantasy 1 through 6, including in the Lunar Subterranea, which is all of the bosses from Final Fantasy 4. So you fight every single boss from 4, every single boss from 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. They all play exactly the same way as they did prior. So that just leads me to believe they carbon copied those bosses, including their AI scripts from previous ports or whatever was the comparable port for whichever version of this game you played into this game, which is just the laziest shit. Gino, you'll get a kick out of this. When you fight Gilgamesh, they don't play the Battle of Big Bridge. It's just the generic Final Fantasy IV music. Battle music.
Ooh.
You know,
Fuck that.
that would have been a lot of work.
There would have been any work at all.
That's not fair. I shouldn't say that, but like,
The whole
Sure.
point is that you should play the Battle of the Big Bridge when you fight Gilgamesh, and especially if it's Gilgamesh from Final Fantasy V.
They own the rights to that song.
yeah, not a lot of like lengthy licensing conversations that would have needed to happen. Just, I guess that maybe they would have had to call Uematsu and been like, "Hey," but shit.
So you fight God.
Yeah,
Like,
He was like
I
a
found
weird roly-poly
and I-
dude at first.
No, he's not a holy dude. It's like
No,
literally the god of
roly-poly little
creation.
like dog thing, at least in my
Yeah.
version of the game.
So basically God has been exploring universe from universe, uplifting different, universes to be a higher level of creation. And he gets to the universe of 4 and basically says, "Man, you guys have committed a lot of genocide. I think I'm just gonna kill you all because you don't deserve to be uplifted. You don't deserve to exist anymore. So I'm just gonna murder you." And there's like this plot thread where we find out that the mysterious girl is like Rydia's DNA that got spliced and then cloned by the creation god. And now he's making an endless number of copies.
Would you say that she's a baby daughter clone of Rydia?
She's basically a baby daughter clone, Gino. She really is. She's a baby daughter. But not with any of the upside of being a baby daughter clone.
all the
And in typical
Perks
Final
that
Fantasy
entails?
form, the hardest boss is not the final boss; it's the prior boss, where it's Mysterious Girl plus Bahamut. Because hey, Mega Flare sucks, and she just basically spams that. And on top of that, in the lead up to the final boss fight, it's just a bunch of Maenads, which are the Mysterious Girl now named.
yeah.
And the magical versions of the Maenads just drops Meteor on the first move, which
Cool.
sucks, which is cool. Which, if you're not prepared for that, that's just a party wipe.
Splat.
And then yeah, you fight God, and he has some like soliloquies. I found like a Reddit post that's talking about how there's this deeper meaning to like, why would God fight? And it's like a bunch of bullshit. Like they borrowed a plot twist that we've seen so many times. We've seen it in 9. We've seen it in 10. We've seen it in 1. So how many fucking times have we fought God? In the Final Fantasy franchise. And God's
man.
upset at how humanity has evolved or progressed.
I mean, we fought a god in 9,
13 Lightning Returns.
13, definitely. 13, 2,
9.
13, 3, 9 for sure.
10,
10.
because you Yevon.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Uh,
it's just a very the trope here being like disinterested watchmaker like checks back in and doesn't like what's going on. He's just like, just smash this one too. Um, which like I get that it's like, well, you're going to destroy. Like the motivation there should be, you're going to kill my friends. I don't want you to do that, and that works if you're like, I suppose, very invested in the people who are about to be smashed by the watchmaker, not dying. But as for my feelings on Harley or the fucking combat kids of Edge, don't really mind. I guess. Um, can't say I'm like really sweating that one too much.
yeah.
So kind of like, all right, like, can I just set the controller down here? Is there like a bad end we can? No, okay. Um, and you know that this is the reward, the plot and ludic reward for going through this extra 30 hours of kind of warmed over dungeon shit. Um, that also kind of stinks, I think. Um,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a terrible boss sprite, I'll say that much. It's just this amalgam of like an force on top of like a bunch of bullshit. And it's not even all that hard because it's not meant to be hard.
Yeah, and then it
It
keeps
happens,
chasing
and then
you after you
it
kill
keeps
it.
chasing you.
It keeps blowing up. And then after you escape the lunar subterrane, like the moon fucks off. And
There's a decent epilogue at the end of this
Yeah.
game where you find out what happens to all of these characters. I think the most interesting one is when Golbez says, "Hey, I really do love you. You're my brother. He didn't have a child," which is questionable in and of itself. But I gotta find out what happened to my fellow Lunarians. I'm pretty sure they're all dead. But I gotta go. Bye.
he fucks off to his home planet.
It's like they tried to do the Chrono Trigger like epilogue sequence where we find all of these like little end notes as to what happened to everyone. And it kind of is lame and sucks.
Yeah.
And
It
that's
is
Final
kind of
Fantasy
is
IV,
lame.
The after years. It's kind of lame.
And it sucks.
Yeah. So as I said to Gino, Jeff, this isn't the worst game we've ever played, but this might be the most boring, dull. It's the most sustained, boring game we've played. Ah, shit. We played Type 0, man. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, so let's take a look at our list here. Our
I was going to
current
say that, and then I realized I think I hate Type 0 more than this.
our current list, the best Final Fantasy in the ranking of fantasies is Final Fantasy VI, followed by 9 and 10. Rounding out the rest of the top 10, we've got 7, 8, 10, 7 Remake, 4, 5, 12, and Theater Rhythm Final Bar Line. And then if we go to the bottom here, the worst 10 Final Fantasies are World of Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy III, UQ no Kaze Densetsu, which is a CD, 4 Interlude, which is the precursor to this, 10-2 Last Mission, 13 Type 0, Brave Exvius, Final Fantasy VI Special Tracks, Final Fantasy Unlimited the anime, and Final Fantasy All the Bravest, the worst piece of shit we've covered for this. I feel like after years,
I think I want to start with comparing this to Final Fantasy 13.
yeah, that's where I wanted to go. I think that this is better than Type 0. So
Yeah, because
that
it's
means
not unplayable.
that means we have to go to immediately above it, which is 13. This game is boring like 13 is boring.
Yeah.
It's more mechanically interesting because it's still at the very least the ATB system, and
That
some
is
of
correct.
the character abilities like make sense to you, whereas in 13 you have to figure out how to juggle things, and it's super esoteric, and you have to learn how to do it when you get to that Barthantalus boss because the game wants to cave your teeth in.
Yeah. So 13, I feel, is really the... Do we think that it is... Would you play this again before you played 13?
No.
No, but I don't. Okay, so I hate that question because we just played this game,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's been 10
it's
years
been
since we played
so many
13.
years that I've last played 13 that I've actually been genuinely thinking about Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, I am on the record having bought another copy of 13 somewhat recently in the interest of playing it. So
Um,
make of that
so
what
I
you
think I
will.
would probably play 13 over this game, but that is only because I just finished it. I
Yeah.
really did just finish it.
Okay, so mechanically, this is 4, but more. 13 was its
Mhm.
own thing. 13 has some of the worst characters in the series. This game has some nothing characters, but it does give you a conclusion to some characters you cared about and shows you some of their character development. It is fun seeing Yang and his daughter. It's a little fun seeing Edge and his ninja kids and Edward like learning to love again. That's kind of fun. I think this goes above 13. Yay or nay?
Jeff, you feel like the Final Fantasy 13 expert.
I'm not. God, that's who. Like,
It's bleak. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've been slandered like this,
yeah,
Jeff.
making mouth noises and then you do that.
You weren't a full-time member of the podcast when we reviewed 13. It was just Gino and I being miserable. And I think you were I think we played like Final Fantasy 1 prior
It's 1 or
to
2.
doing 13. And you told us like, hey, I actually think that game's totally fine until you actually get to Grand Pulse. And it's crazy that reviewers thought that that's the part when the game got good.
I kind of stand by that. I'm not gonna sit here and say it's like this amazing, you know, when you look at games that came out in this series prior to that, and then look at what that game up to Grand Pulse is, and then what it is after that point. Um, I don't know, man. This whole thing just feels kind of misguided. Here, okay, I hate this question. I would put this below Final Fantasy 13 just on the virtue of, for all of the myriad litany, hundreds of hours of time spent talking about 13, it's at least trying to do something pretty original. Like
Yeah.
the amount of like truly
Everything's original,
new,
Gino.
unique content in this game-like product is, a count on one hand number of hours,
Yeah.
and the thing itself is like 40 hours long. And
Yeah,
I find that to be kind of like,
at the
it would be
very
one thing if it was like very, there's a famous like meal review or restaurant review from a newspaper, and it was like bad food, big portions. And it's like that's what's going on here. It's like
at the very least that you can say about Final Fantasy 13, Gino, is everything that you do see in that game is new and unique, and it's not just a repeat or rewash of something that you've already seen before, and then need to then re-experience the third or fourth time within the game.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with this being directly below 13. I think the floor is Type 0, though. It's better than Type 0.
Yeah, it's because it's actually playable.
Yeah,
like
because it
Type
doesn't make you
Zero's
motion
motion
sick.
blur is like atrocious. It's one of the worst things we've like encountered.
All right. Congratulations to our new 44th best Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy IV: The After Years. What an awful game. There's too much of it. Bad. You said it best, Jeff. Bad food, but huge portions. All right. I think that means, Jeff, it's your turn to pick next. I think ZP picked this one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
picked this. Remember, I even did a bit where you two had to answer quiz questions.
Yeah, we did a quiz.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna just go right out because I've been playing. I think I've been talking about my progress through A game recently, and it's got me thinking about like back when this is mean. Back when this series was good, and characters that I give a rip about, and I think we need to get back there. I know we just did that with 4, like literally so, and I like those original characters. That was
And
not a big
Chocobo
criticism.
Racing. That was fun. Remember that?
Chocobo Racing, yeah. So we're gonna go back and revisit some Final Fantasy VII. It's time to go back. I'm really excited. We're gonna have a look at just the quality Final Fantasy VII Extended Universe side content. Really excited because this hasn't been on our list yet. Because there's quite a it's actually a surprising amount of Final Fantasy VII games we've not looked at. I'm now just spinning a revolver.
Oh
Um,
God.
yeah,
Oh
so
no!
that's right.
Say remake 2.
We're gonna have a look at Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis.
Oh
God.
shit! Really? What? Okay, sure. I
Yeah.
thought when you said revolver, we were gonna do Dirge of Cerberus, but okay.
No, yeah, no, I'm gonna. That's look, man, that game's kind of good. No, Ever Crisis, the free to play retelling thing
Yeah,
that
Em and
is
I
on
played this
Steam.
game. Yeah, Em and I played this game when it came out.
Is it
It's a
still out?
thing.
Yeah, it's still
yeah.
out.
Go.
Yeah,
I
it's
would add
still
it to your
available.
library pretty soon.
I
It's
it,
free
it's
to
a
add.
gotcha game,
It sure
but
is.
admittedly, it's a gotcha game for a mobile game.
Yeah.
Is
it's,
this the one that's like a shooter?
No,
It's got
no.
it's to the best of my understanding, this is a gotcha repackaging of content from Final Fantasy VII and that entire fucking 10-year anniversary thing. So it has
Yeah.
it has a little Advent Children in it. It has a little Before
And it's meant
Crisis in
to
it.
like bring forth some storylines from a basically lost media mobile game.
Yeah. My understanding is there is a character in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that plays a relatively large part in
Mhm.
this fucking thing.
He does.
Yeah,
does.
and I think that's disgusting. So I wanna strip mine this thing. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of fun. And by the way, when you download it, be sure you launch it because one of the second thing, like not too long after you launch it, it's gonna let you know you need to download the other 40 gigs of content.
Yeah.
You need to play it.
Especially if you're going
heard.
to use the Steam version.
So, yeah, this should be really fun. I bet that we're going to have a great time visiting Cloud Strife and
I don't think
Paris
Cloud's a huge. Well,
Gainsborough.
okay. I mean,
And this came out in 2023.
2023.
Stoked to learn about Deep Ground some more, I'm
Oh,
sure.
fucking no.
Gino, look, it's already back into canon. I don't know how to break this to you, but like your little straitjacket boy is back. A certain
be a good
boy
time.
with a wing.
Not Nero the Sable.
Yeah, Nero's back.
Fucking A. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what I'm doing,
Next
I
time.
really did, Jeff, think that you were gonna pick Dirge of Cerberus.
I really thought about
really
it, but
did.
I was like,
got
nah,
a
there's
PlayStation
still
2 next to me. I was like, I guess I can at least play that.
Oh, you can play that. It's on. You can get it on your phone. Put it on your phone. Why not put it
No.
on your phone?
Counterpoint, no. I'll put it on my computer where it's safely contained. Okay, well, next up we'll be playing Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, Nero the Sable. Oh, man. Thank you, Jeff.
You just don't say it if you don't mean it.
Thank you, Chris.
Glad to announce alongside Braden and I that we're done with Dating Everything, which means the main Deep Listens podcast will be playing Bennett Foddy's Baby Steps. Even though we're big fans of art games and trials and tribulations of climbing hills, we're going to be taking a step into baby steps where we make a virtual approximation of activities such as, exercise.
That's not true.
In Australia and art.
We're not playing Baby Steps.
Main podcast, Baby Steps.
We're playing Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Nah, Baby Steps.
Thank you, listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show, deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com.
Nero the Sable's not the only character that comes back in this thing. I don't know if you've seen this, but
Also the
certain
Crimson.
Genesis is coming back, baby.
Oh, thank God. I love Genesis so
The
much.
Civets, they're back. Weiss, he's got crazy hair.
Deep Listens.
Angeal, sorry, it's not Genesis, it's Angeal. Sorry.
deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got our comment sections, Deep Listens Podcast, bluesky.social. That's our social media account. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And also, if you can, donate to ilcm.org/donate, the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota. Until next time, peace.